Hey guys, welcome back to another Pen Talk. I am Kevin Taylor, personal trainer in the Hoover area and a member of the Peak Referrals chapter. Here's my co-host Cherry.
Hi, I'm Cherry Howell. I'm with Providence Chiropractic in Huntsville, Alabama, and I'm in B&I Gateway chapter.
And our two guests today are Brian Smith and Denise Bradbury. Brian, will you introduce yourself first?
Yeah, my name is Brian Smith, and I'm with Thomas HVAC, and we're based out of Meridianville, Alabama, and cover all of Madison County and surrounding areas. I'm with the Heritage chapter.
Hey, I'm Denise Bradbury, and I'm with Bradbury Service Company Heating and Cooling, and we are out of Tuscaloosa, and I am in the North River B&I chapter.
Great. We're glad that you're here. Cherry, if you want to get us started.
All right, Brian, what kind of checklist would you suggest that people run through before calling an HVAC company to come out, potentially saving an unnecessary service call?
Well, first off, I think one of the most common misconceptions is the customer not knowing what they actually need. So they may call really just wanting an estimate for a replacement system. But they call asking, can I get a service call? So our CSRs, that's the first probing question they ask, why are you needing someone to come out? Because there's two different charges. There's no charge for me to come out. I'm in sales, so all I do is give estimates on replacement systems and bidding jobs. So it's no charge for me to come out and actually give you an estimate on multiple options or different ways to go about, replacing the system that you have or adding on or whatever the situation may be. But more times than not, someone is calling us for, hey, the system's not working properly. I need someone to come tell me why. And so if you're in that boat, then I would say there's a couple of things that as a homeowner you can check to maybe bypass having to call us and paying a service charge to an HVAC company to come out. Number one, I would say, look at the thermostat. If there's nothing reading on the thermostat, usually that's a pretty good indication that there was a power surge, a breaker is tripped, or maybe a water safety, a float switch tripped and shut the unit off as a precaution. So those would be things to check. Go outside, make sure the breaker is not tripped. If you've got a unit in an attic or a crawl space or wherever that has a pan, that float switch, if there's water in that pan, it's going to cause that system to shut off if it's, high enough. If that's not the case, your thermostat's on, everything seems to be normal. There's air coming out the vents, but it's just not cold air in the summer, which is a problem. Then my first indication would be to look outside at the refrigerant lines, or if it's a package system, is there any ice? Do you see anything frozen? Because most of the time it's a refrigerant problem. If the unit's working, it's blowing air, it's just not cold. So And anyway, if you call us and say, yeah, there's ice on the system, we're not going to be able to come out right away anyway. It has to have time to thaw out before we can properly diagnose the system. So those are a couple of things that a homeowner can be aware of and check out prior to calling a company to come out.
That's great information. Thank you.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the IT people. Have you unplugged it and plugged it back in? So. Well, great tips. I think sometimes I've had some issues and it might have just been the breaker. So great tips there. All right, Denise. So when choosing an HVAC company, what are some things to look for in a company and what are some things to stay away from?
Well, mine's going to be pretty brief, Brian. I will say everything that you mentioned, that's what we do as well. Maybe want to check the air filters also to make sure those are clean. The first thing that I ask a person that calls into us is, how did you hear about us? And we keep up with that, whether it be from someone else that's used us or to my father-in-law said to give you a call. He knows you from church. But mainly we get it from people going online and checking us out in Google. We have great reviews. And we make sure that if people are happy with our service, that they write a review. And most of these people do, and they're very generous with what they have to say. And so that's what I would do. Stay away from people with bad reviews, and you'll get enough of those. Now, do we get all great reviews? No, there's going to be somebody here or there that may say something, but if they're consistently getting bad reviews, you don't want to go see them. You want to get someone that's got good reviews.
Good, thank you.
All right, Brian, why is it beneficial to have my system maintained and cleaned regularly?
The number one reason is to get more life out of your system. The number one, I would say most studies will show you that the average residential system's life expectancy is somewhere around 15 years. So the last studies that I looked at, only about 50% of Americans actually do HVAC maintenance on their system. They don't treat it like they do their car. Although if you buy a high-end system, you can spend almost as much as a low-end car nowadays. So why, if you're investing that kind of money, wouldn't you take care and do the preventative maintenance on it the same as you would any other big investment?
That's true.
Obviously, doing maintenance on the system is going to save you in energy costs as well, because if the unit is running at peak efficiency, it's not going to cost you as much to operate. Another big thing too is, like Diane or Denise mentioned earlier, is keeping those filters clean.
Mm-hmm.
So, if the dirt is getting past the filter, then the next stage of filtering is the coil. Well, if that coil is compacted, then your efficiency is just going way downhill. So that's the biggest reason I would say that maintenance is a big deal, because most homeowners have no idea what the coil is, much less where it is and how to clean it. So and one tip I wanted to point out that I thought was a really good tip is, and what most people don't realize is 95% of all HVAC repairs could be avoided if the customer just did routine maintenance.
That's great information. My last unit lasted like 8 years, but it was a real cheap unit that somebody had installed before me. So.
All right, so Denise, this kind of really piggybacks on Brian's. So why should I have a maintenance agreement on an HVAC system after I just spent thousands of dollars on a brand new one? I spent enough money, I shouldn't have to check up on it, right?
Right. That's a good question. And just like Brian was saying about the car, that's a perfect example that I like to use. And I can tell people that, okay, you bought this brand new car. You set right up with a little checklist in your little booklet, and you're going to take it in without question. At least most people are buying something brand new, spending all that money on it. They don't want it to tear up right away. So they're going to make sure they take it in. And it's the same thing with your HVAC system. Just as Brian was saying, you don't want something to happen to the coil. That could be like something with, hey, your transition is going bad in your car. You don't want to hear those things. You don't want to hear that a compressor isn't working right. Those are two words you don't want to hear about a unit, especially if you just bought it, say, 2 years ago. So if we come out and we do a maintenance, every 6 months, we change the filter, we check the coils, we do the cleaning, we make sure it's running efficiently. Now, if everything is top notch and going well, it's not going to take us a long time with it. But if it's, hey, my machine's not working right, come out and check it, and they've not had anybody look at it in 5 years, we might be there a while, and we might find that we've got to get a new coil or a new unit.
Good, thank you.
All right, Brian. It is my understanding that there are older models of HVAC units, R22, that are basically obsolete at this point. It's very expensive to refill them, etc. Any advice to give to people on when and how to replace them to save themselves a headache?
Yeah, so first, just to clarify for those who aren't certain what Sherry is talking about, pretty much any equipment that was manufactured 2010 or earlier is most likely going to be using R22 refrigerant, which is, you know, called Freon by most people. Even the new refrigerant, most people will call Freon, even though it's not technically Freon. It's a different type of refrigerant. The supply on the R22 is getting less and less because as of January 1st, 2020, it has been banned by the EPA. It can't be manufactured and it can't be imported in the United States. So therefore, you know, like Denise said, if you hear the word compressor or coil being bad, then that's meaning there's a lot of refrigerant involved in that repair, which means that cost is going to be way higher than what you ever expected, because the price on R22, as the supply gets less, people are going to charge more and more. It's just the supply and demand deal. So what I would say is, and I tell every customer this, especially my friends and family, who they call and say, hey, I need somebody to come out and check my unit. Well, I don't go out and diagnose the system, but I will tell them every time, hey, your system's an R22 system. So if they tell you anything more than, you know, a $200 or $300 repair, you need to call and consult with me, because it may be more beneficial to go ahead and replace the system. That's pretty much where I'll leave that. If you have an R22 system, before sinking much money into it, at least entertain replacing it.
Yeah, I think I replaced my R22 system about 3 years ago. So,
right, that's probably a smart move.
It had a 12-year run. So.
Oh yeah.
All right, Denise. So I'm basically your third question is two questions. The first part is why is the temperature uneven in my home, and then the second part of that is how can I detect AC refrigerant leaks?
Okay. Well, one reason that you may not have proper air in certain places in your home, you could think about windows, you know, the sun shining in, and it causes the unit to run higher and faster to keep it maybe cool in that room. And sometimes it just can't do it in the Alabama sun. And you can go in another bedroom or a room and it feels really cool. And that's the side where the sun's not coming in. So that could be one thing, nature. Another thing is that there's improper ductwork, and that's something we can come in and check, make sure that everything is open freely, see if we need to add more ductwork in several places in your home to get the efficiency that you need with the unit. It could be the dirty coils. If the machine is not looked at and taken care of, it's going to make it work harder, which is going to make your power bill go up. And so that needs to be looked at. And also, as I said, air filters. I get tickled when I say that, because my son and I and his family, we went on a little vacation just a couple of weeks ago. Of course, you know what the first thing is. He's going to go check that unit out, make sure it's working right. And he opened up where the filter was and pulled it out. And I swear it looked like the hide off or hair off of a dog. It was that thick on it. And so right away, he was cleaning it off as best he could, and call them, you know, to come in the condo, and you need a new air filter in here. But you got to take care of those. And air filters are cheap, you know, and something that's in it so as inexpensive as that to help keep your system working properly and helping with your cost. That's something that you need to do. And what was the other part of the question you had asked?
Okay. How can I detect an AC refrigerant leak?
You know, I can't even tell that. I don't work on them. I don't go out and work on them. But if someone comes out and tells you that you have a leak, they can do a test to find out about that. If they have the leak there, they might can tell you if it can be repaired, or if they're going to have to, you know, if you need to get a unit. Sometimes they're going to put a Band-Aid on it and try to take care of it. We're going to let them know, you know, what you can do one way or the other. If it's best to get a unit now, or yeah, go ahead and sink $600 or $800, you know, into it to see if it's going to work. But we're going to judge it and see how old the machine is and tell you what to do. Brian, you might can. that. How can you tell?
Well, it sounds like you call a professional out there, right?
I think so.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. There are plenty of people in North Alabama, not naming any types of professions, but I'm sure you guys know that do have gas sniffers and will go and check themselves for a refrigerant leak. And that's pretty much the only way you're going to know.
Right.
Like, you hear that? I hear some AC refrigerant leak
Right.
coming from over there.
Right. As I like to say in B&I, let the baker do the baking. Call us.
Right. Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Brian, what size air conditioner do I need for my home? What is a properly matched system?
Okay, so second question I'll answer first. A properly matched system is referring to the compatibility of an outdoor unit to an indoor unit. So there's two different types of systems people may have in their house. In North Alabama, we have about probably 50% package systems, which are all-in-one type systems. It properly matched doesn't apply to package systems. It's only referring to split systems where you have one portion of it outdoors and one portion of it indoors. So a matched system is basically saying this condenser outside performs the way it's supposed to with this particular air handler or furnace. The first part of that question, sizing, pretty much if you're, sorry about that, if you bought a home and it's been built in the last 20 years, especially if it's in the city, it had to have a manual J load calculation done on it. And by city code or county codes, they require it to be properly sized for that, whatever those plans were. So unless you're adding on or you've added on to your existing house, or there's been some major remodeling, maybe you knocked the ceiling out and added more volume to the house, even though you didn't really add any square footage, those are some things that could cause you to have to resize the unit in order for it to be properly sized. But if the house is the same footprint and nothing major has changed, you shouldn't ever really need to change the size of the original unit that was there.
Yeah.
But
So
there's like gas packages, and then like if you have 2 levels, aren't you supposed to have 1 unit for each floor?
it really just depends on how old your home is. I mean, I run into a lot of homes here in old Huntsville who are 2-level homes. My house is one of those where I have one system that works multiple floors. And so we do get those calls where a customer, hey, I'm tired of it always being warmer on the upstairs than it is at the downstairs. Can we do anything about that? Well, if you want to tear out all your sheetrock and let us get to the ductwork, we can redesign the ductwork. But otherwise, there's not a lot you can do other than supplement what you have, unfortunately.
We don't want to tear everything up.
Hey, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
The bigger the job, the better.
All right, Denise. So what is 2-stage cooling and what is variable speed cooling? Are these something that I should look into when upgrading my old system?
And again, I work in the office part, so I don't know a whole lot about the systems, but I did talk to my son a little bit about it. So hopefully you can understand from what he told me. When you have a 2-stage, you can maybe run stage 1 when it's on milder temperature days, and you have a compressor and an indoor unit. It can save you money just to use that 1 stage. It's a lower capacity and it can save on your power bill, and it's not as expensive as a variable. Okay, so there's your 2-stage. Now a variable, you have speed cooling, ramp up or down. That's what I have at my house, and it just, it goes according to what the weather's doing. It works on its own. Okay, up and down to help keep the temperature in the house even, and like I like it. It's very energy efficient. It's quiet. I don't hear something cutting on and off, which I like that. It removes humidity out of the home much better as well. And I can tell that, and it works for us.
Awesome.
Excellent. Thank you.
Brian, what is one of the funniest or most shocking jobs that you have worked on?
I could name a lot, but I'll just flash back a couple of weeks, and it's the most recent. I'm sure Diane or Denise, I don't know why I keep calling you Diane.
I look
Denise,
like a Diane.
you do. I know a lot of Dianes, and you look like her. Anyway, you get a lot of calls nowadays of people, well, I can buy this unit online for yada yada price. Will you come and install it for me? Well, we don't do that, because we can't warranty any product that we don't sell ourselves. And so we don't want that type of business. But occasionally you'll run across that customer who is just so adamant about, well, I want you to do this work, and I don't care if you don't have a warranty, whatever, I want you to put it in. So I usually try to price it to the point to where they don't want to use me, but sometimes they still do. But this one particular person recently, I give them just an outlandish price to where I knew they wouldn't use me. So, because I didn't want to mess with it, because I knew it was going to be trouble, because the equipment he bought, I'd never even heard of it before. I didn't even know the brand. So I didn't want to mess with it. So anyway, he calls us back about 2 weeks after I had spoken to him, and was like, I need somebody to come out here. I'm in trouble. So I get volunteered to go take a look. I go out to his house, and as soon as I turn the corner and see his house, the entire attic portion of the side of his house looked like an explosive went off and was just torn out. You could basically turn down the road and see through his entire attic. Basically, he had hired someone off of Craigslist who was a certified HVAC installer to come out and install the system, because it was a great price and it was a good deal. And his brother-in-law knew this guy, so he was well trusted. So anyway, I go out there, see this mess. I mean, there's insulation. The air handler that used to be in the attic is laying in the neighbor's bushes. It looked like it snowed in both yards because all the insulation everywhere. I mean, it was a complete disaster. And I'm like, what in the world happened? Well, the guy showed up, started the install, was too hot in the attic. He told the guy, well, I can't do this. It's too hot in here. He's like, well, what should we do? He's like, well, can I just cut a hole in the side of your house? That way we can get some airflow in here, and then I'll get somebody out here to fix it.
Oh, Lord.
So the guy agreed to it. So he cuts about a 10 by 10 out of the side of his house and throws the equipment out in the yard, tells the guy he's got to go to the store after working on it about a half a day, and never returns.
Oh.
He's never seen the guy again.
Oh my goodness.
His brother-in-law, who referred the guy, finds out that he got arrested while he was at the gas station.
Oh.
He had a warrant out. And so he's calling us to fix the problem. Well, not only did this guy not do a good job, but he screwed up so much other stuff because he didn't know what he was doing. So now that same job I quoted him 2 weeks previous is going to be double what it is, because there's so much more work to do. And the system that he bought was shot because it had been sitting out, and it was just a catastrophe. And I kind of felt sorry for the guy, because it was like, you could tell he told me basically the only reason I did this was because I didn't have the money to do it the right way. I was like, sir, I hate to tell you this, but you should have just waited until you had the money to do it the right way, because this is the result.
Brian, you need to do that as your next BNI presentation, what not to do.
Yeah. Pay more than a 12-pack of beer to have your AC installed.
The thing that irks me the most is I didn't take a video of the scene. It's like, God, that was the perfect opportunity to have a BNI presentation. This is why you don't hire somebody on Craigslist.
All right. So Denise, I am very sorry to do this to you. You have the same question.
Mine's short.
So what is one of the funniest or most shocking jobs that you have worked on?
Mine is short. Well, we always say our little slogan is, we're not comfortable till you are. So we're going to try to make sure people are comfortable. We found anything from snakes to cats to anything in a unit. When you open it up, you just don't know what you're going to see. But a lady called us one time and said she had something in her ductwork that it just wasn't working correctly. And so our guys went in there and took the ductwork apart, and they took out 6 kittens, a mom and the babies. And some of the guys took the cats home and have them to this day.
Little kittens. Well, Brian, yours was a train wreck, and Denise, yours was a fairy tale ending.
Yeah.
There you go. I'd do something short and sweet.
Well, guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for just sharing with us. It's the summer, so it was great to have you on. It's perfect time of the year. Just to let everyone know, if you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. If you want to get in touch with Brian or Denise and have them come out and do some work, just leave a comment or get in touch with us, and we'll pass that along, okay? So thank you very much, guys. Thank you for another Pen Talk.
Thanks.
Thanks. See y'all.